All right. Hello, everyone. In today's video, we'll be conducting a World Series based on a recently completed sim auction involving the players from the 1924 Senators, the 1937 Yankees, the 2011 Rangers, and the 2024 Dodgers. And as you might have noticed, all those teams have participated in the World Series. Reason for that is we recently started a theme where we actually randomize 4 to 6 World Series teams, and that creates the player pool for the sim auction. Now, to get more details on these historical teams, please take a look at my auction video where I go into a little bit more detail in describing the teams. So, as a reminder, in a sim auction, in a sim auction version of the World Series, that is, we simulate entire seasons with the newly created teams. We use the APBA computer game to conduct the simulations. And then in our version of the World Series, what we actually do is we simulate an entire season, and each season counts as one game. The team that ends up winning 4 seasons wins the World Series. So as you know, in baseball, there's a ton of randomness, and even in a World Series, a best 4 out of 7 doesn't necessarily determine the best team. You can see that in multiple World Series where the best team doesn't always win. When you're doing a 4 out of 7 game simulation, you don't sift out of some of the randomness, and we try to do that when we simulate entire seasons. We take out some of the randomness by doing that. And that way, it gives us a sense of assurance that whoever ends up winning actually was the best constructed team. So before we dive into the simulations, we always like to take a quick look at the teams that we actually constructed just to get a sense of what we liked, what we didn't like, what we could have done differently. So let me pull up the spreadsheet for that. So Jason, maybe we can go same as what we did at the end of the auction. Let's go sort of like from you to me. Um, Let me just minimize my little Zoom window here so I can see my screen a little bit better. So what do you think, Jason? I think the hitting piece is, I think, what's a little bit of a Achilles heel for you.
Right. I'm heavily dependent on Mike Napoli's um,
Yeah,
OBP slugging and OPS, which is a lot to ask of one catcher.
yeah,
I have lots of speed, which it'd have been an interesting. It'd be interesting to try Billy Martin, but your catchers are so strong armed that I didn't go that route.
good move.
But I
Yeah,
do have a lot of speed, and this team's gonna have to manufacture runs because I think it has the weakest slugging percentage and OPS of all the teams in the draft. I also attempted to not take on too many left-handers to kind of maximize Lefty Gomez's effect on the other teams. And so we'll see how Lefty does. I kind of did a draft optimizing Lefty's performance. So I'm hoping he does well, but um, I may have I may have created problems from all my right-handed pitching staff after after lefty.
good. Yeah, good point. Um, I mean, you can't go wrong with lefty. I took you up as high as I could on him. I was tempted to go 56,
Right.
but I had a feeling you were just going to keep going. So maybe I just said, let me just play it safe here. But I did want lefty. I was telling you, Steve, I did want either lefty or Walter. That was part of my initial plan, but it just got a little bit too pricey and I backed off. But you can't go wrong with him.
Yeah, I noticed that's the opening day matchup, so that's a rough way to start.
Good point. Um, the one that I thought, so I understand why you did it, but I thought maybe you went a little bit too high on roughing. Maybe a few dollars less on roughing might have given you some profit there. But I understand why you did it. You wanted to have that tandem with lefty.
Yeah, I was hurting for quality innings pitched by that point rather badly. I've been spoiled in previous auctions with more pitching depth. You guys were very efficient at gobbling up starting pitcher innings this time. There was no
Yeah.
bargains. I was
No,
hoping to have
no.
some, and there were none.
No, I was looking at it yesterday. There really were not any bargains.
No.
Um, let me go back for a second on your Napoli point. Napoli, by the way, in a lot of the sims that I ran, he ended
Hmm.
up close to the top in OPS. Like even giving like Gehrig and Otani and who's the other guy who's here? Oh, DiMaggio. Like he was giving like there were a couple of test sims I ran where Napoli actually came out as the best OPS hitter. I think only one or two. Usually it was Gehrig or DiMaggio. But
Yeah, not my plan was to not my plan was to save money and not win those guys after my plan was to get Lefty and Napoli, and I
yeah,
didn't have much of a plan after that, but so yeah, I hope he
uh,
carries the team.
he was Napoli's great. It's just that he doesn't give you he's only got 432 PAs, so that's a little bit of the
Right.
issue there. And then the other I think opportunity for your team is you really like if it goes into the bullpen, that doesn't do you any favors.
No, no.
Yeah. So down here, that's going to be a little bit of an opportunity for sure.
Right.
Um, all right, that gives you a good summary of your team. Let's jump over to Anthony. Let's see Anthony's team. Oh, what I did also earlier is I tried to remove guys that I noticed were not getting a ton of at bats in the test sims. I didn't do that for Jason. Jason, because you pretty much got more or less. I think Hundley got maybe half usage, but you pretty much used most of your at bats. Um, Anthony, I took out Melvin just to give us a more truer number on the OPS. You got some hitting, Anthony. I think it's going to be the pitching that might hurt you a little bit, but you do have some hitting.
Yeah, I kind of definitely just went all in on bats, I think, this time.
Yeah.
So made sure at least to get two solid bullpen arms and
Yep. You got a
one
couple of
half
bullpen.
decent starter at least.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, you definitely have the hitting. That 795 OPS is a true OPS because I took out Melvin out of the equation. Um, so I'm fascinated by your bidding with Steve on Otani. That was really one of the coolest battles I think we've ever had on a player. So a couple of questions I had for you. So did you were you keying on Otani all along, or is it just that you realize there's the top stars are gone. I better get Otani. Like what was the thought process with that?
A little bit of both. I think at that point definitely was like I needed a like headliner bat at that point.
Yeah.
So I just figured it was
Well,
a player worth the most at that point. So
yeah. Well, obviously Otani, gives you a ton of stuff. Um, I'm curious because I was, the not during the auction, but the day after when I was looking at it, I realized, you know what? I don't know if Anthony realized this. So when Steve was going up against you, so obviously Steve took you up all the way up to 57. That was his bid. And you
mhm.
you did the 58 and it stopped there. But at that point, Steve did not have a ton of money. So if you had let Steve live with Otani at 57, it would have left him with 18 $1 players.
Oh wow, I didn't
So,
realize that at the time.
yeah, because that might have been a move right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been, and it would have, and Steve is really good at being creative, but it would have created that would have been like the optimum in creativity to try to fill your roster with 18 $1 players. So, but yeah, that was really an exciting auction bidding for that particular player. And I'm going to look at it this weekend, probably and have a little bit more time. But that $58 bid, I think, is going to turn out to be probably the second highest that we've ever had. I believe Mike Piazza's best year as a catcher might have gone for 60 if I remember correctly. But I have to do a little bit of digging because I have to update that info on the website. But for sure, Otani at 58 is probably the second highest ever, I think. So pretty cool. But yeah, I thought I'd throw that out to you because, in the heat of the battle, sometimes you don't look at what your opponent has left in terms
Mhm.
of money. But yeah, that would have created a little bit of a problem for Steve, I think. Um, And then pitching, yeah, I think you got Furpo and you got CJ, and then it gets a little iffy because you only got Chandler for 82 innings, and
Hmm.
then obviously you do have two good closers, but even the rest of your bullpen's a little rough. And then when you start to dig into like Colby Lewis, for example, Ivy Andrews, those guys are not going to do you favors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, that covers your team nicely there. Steve, you're up.
Yes. Well, I didn't have enough pitching. I think I got stuck with one player I didn't want early on, and while I don't think I overpaid for him, I feel like that money I wanted to use towards a pitcher,
Yeah.
which also would allow me to get one less relief pitcher, which I didn't need or want, for an extra, 100 innings.
Yeah.
So that kind of threw off my plan. I was looking to have one of the big two pitchers plus somebody in the 12 range and maybe somebody in the 15 range
Yeah.
was my plan. And,
And
and
then
it
you
was
kind of you
fine. I
kind of you
mean,
kind of ended up with Flaherty, and then nothing really.
yeah, I wanted Flaherty and I wanted somebody in the middle. Um, you know, I, I could have gone without Uehara or Oliver, or Trinan, I guess, for that matter.
Yeah.
Um, but the prices weren't bad in the three of them. I just would, if I didn't have Freeman, and one of the relievers, I felt like I could have been in on one of the mid-range pitchers, and I think that would have starters that would certainly help me.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right because let's just take if you take Freeman as an example, that's 19, and let's just take the money for training, that's 11. Yeah, that's a
Yep,
30. That
yep.
basically what that does is it puts you in the running for my Zachary
Yeah,
third third.
is really who I was keying in on, to believe it or not.
Yeah,
That was the guy I wanted. 200 innings, 16.
yeah,
That was really my plan. But again, I don't have a problem with Freeman at 19. I
yeah,
was just looking to get Judge a little cheaper later on, or one of them later on, where I could have just used that money elsewhere. And even if it was like a $5 player later in the draft where it just got a little bit more value, probably could have helped me.
yeah, absolutely. I thought you did nicely on DiMaggio.
Yeah, yeah. I think him, and then again, I know we spoke the other day, Dickey, I really
That's yeah,
like. I mean, I
yeah.
know the numbers aren't there, but I'm getting really good profit for a guy that's, you know, half the price of somebody who might be a bigger star.
I mean, 987 OPS from your catcher for 600 plate appearances.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
can't go
Well,
wrong.
in any position, I mean, in my opinion,
Right,
really. So,
right. Agreed. No, I mean you got the hitting. I took out Tommy Edman from the
yeah,
equation because I noticed he wasn't really being used that much during the sim. So your OPS is the best of any of our teams.
yeah,
Now remember the interesting thing about the OPS too is you have to also keep in mind that you gotta pay attention to what your hitters are going to be facing. So
yeah,
obviously, if they're facing really good pitching, that OPS will probably go down a little bit, and vice versa.
yeah,
But yeah, I I like the hitting, and honestly, and I told you the other day, I I'll show you my team in a second. I made a mistake with one player that if I didn't get, I would have had a chance at Joe Judge, who you basically stole for $2.
yeah. Not that it's
Yeah,
gonna help me, but yeah, pretty much.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
all right, cool. So with me, the guy that I was talking about is when I purchased this guy here, Red Wolf, I had totally forgotten that the guy right before him, Ozzy Bluge, can play third base, and he's a 4. He could have played third base for me, and really, I should have used that Wolf money on Judge because at that point, I still had more money than you, Steve. But
yep,
again, that's a tactical error on my part. Um, but I mean, in terms of my hitting, I took out these 4 guys who basically are not getting used barely at all during the sim. And then when I do that, it actually puts my OPS, Steve, pretty close to yours.
yeah,
809 as opposed to 817. And then the other thing that I tried to do is I tried to minimize my platoon exposure. I only have really one guy that can get hurt. The other guys are minimal platoon exposure. Um, and then on the pitching side, I did notice that there were a lot of lefty guys with heavy platoons, So then I did try to optimize my lefties to try to impact all those lefty hitters. And specifically, the guy I had in mind was Otani, of course. Um, and then the other thing with my pitching is I don't have any holes. I mean, basically, uh, Brazier's probably my lowest graded guy, and he's a 9, and he probably gets used the least. But everybody else is 10 or above, so that definitely helps the cause. The other thing is I don't have any real holes in my lineup. If you look at my guys, everybody that plays now, the sim does use Von Hayes for about 200 PAs, but everybody else is above 700 OPS. Whereas, I think Steve, you have to use Sandy Alomar, right?
Well,
For
I
the
platoon him and Bob Johnson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they're interchangeable in terms of stats.
for sure.
Yep, Anthony, I know you got to use Shoop and who's the other guy? Hefner. So that's a below 600 OPS chunk there. And then I think Jason, in your case, it was you're going to use Hunley a little bit and Boyer a little bit, and Blair as well. So that those are sort of weaker hitters. So that's where my team kind of has a little bit of a leg up. There's no real holes there. So, all right, I think that's enough of the analysis. Let's see if we can jump into the Sims here. And the fascinating thing, you guys, is, and and I know Jason, Anthony, I know you've done probably like four or five now. Jason, you've done a bunch as well, but you can't like. It's really interesting because you can't say, all right, well, this worked in this auction. I'm going to use it in the next one. No, you can't do that. It really depends on the player population, and you have to kind of reconfigure your strategy depending on the player pool. Steve, you know that you like, and you do that
Yeah,
better than just about anybody. You sort of change your strategy around depending on the population of players.
for sure.
All right, let's see if we can get going here. Let me move this little bar out of here, and let's see. Let me make sure I erased any prior stats. All right. All right, here we go. Season 1 underway. Goes pretty fast with only 4 teams. All right, let's take a look here early on. Steve in front by half a game over me. Anthony's still in it. Jason falling behind a little bit.
Why did you take Miller 2 over Miller 3? Was it a matter of not having a quick hook on the pitcher?
Exactly.
Okay.
I had guys. All my 5 guys were pretty standard, even, and I didn't want Miller to play around with that. Miller 3 will do some playing around and
Yeah,
mixing and matching.
I felt that was my best hope.
No, for your team it was.
Yeah, especially with 4 bullpen arms,
Yeah. Actually,
he mix and match.
for all three, I did think Miller 3 was a good option for all three of you.
Yeah, I took 2 or 3 from you.
All right, let's take a look. All
Ah,
right. I'm
there it
opening it
is.
up there. Yep, 8 and 8, and then Jason's at 12, but still everybody has a shot. Still very early. So it looks like we're right about the All-Star break here. Yeah. Let's take another look. Anthony and Steve, everybody making a run at me.
Oof.
Jason, yeah. All right, let's take another look here. All right, opening it up a little bit. We might as well just keep it right here and see where it lands. 7, 7.5, 9.5. Everybody's still in it. 108 games played. All right, a little bit more distance here. 8.5, 9.5, 12. Steve, 8.5, but I got a magic number now.
Oof.
5.5, Steve. Magic number of 25. Back up to 8.
Yeah.
Can't just keep. I'm pushing away at you. 10, magic number 2. All right,
Yeah.
I think I got this one. All right, let's see if there's any rainouts. No rainouts. Final tally on this first season. Yeah, but you won. You made up ground at the end there. 9-1. I went 4-6.
Yeah.
So you made it close. 90 victory season. Very well done. Anthony, Jason, a little rough. I think that pitching definitely had an impact. All right, let me log these numbers. And what'll really be a revelation is when I send you the stats recap, sort the teams by your teams, and then you'll be able to see where the good and the bad happen for sure. All right, so I have this saved. Let me just go into that other module and save the actual stats so I can compile that later. All right, everything's saved, and let's go back and run season 2. All right. Just confirm, you guys, can you still see the APBA screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me erase these stats for season 1. All right, here we go. Season 2 underway. Okay, obviously pretty early, but let's just take a quick look here at the beginning stages of the season. All right, I'm up top, but everybody is right there, right behind me. So anybody's game. So let's see, we should be approaching the 40 game mark here. Still very close. Jason right behind me. Steve 6 out. Anthony a little bit further out. Still very close after 43 games there. Very close. Jason hanging around. So is Steve. Anthony falling back a bit. Actually, what I'm going to do is let me just pause it and see. Let's just take a look at a few box scores. All right, let's just take a look at the standings so far. Wow, very close. Jason 2.5, Steve 6, Anthony a little bit farther back, but you guys are right there. Let's take a look at some box scores. Let's see, anything look interesting here? All right, 20-1. What happened here?
Yikes.
Don August. Oh, and the bullpen. You got to send those guys back down to the minors, Jason. And then what about on the hitting side? Gehrig drives in 4. Harris 3. Everybody hit. 18 hits. All right, so that was that. That is that. Let's see. Steve, you beat me 8-1 on this one. Look, your guy Hadley. There you go.
There he is. There he is. Scattered 7 hits.
Yep. Mugridge did not have it that day. All right. Let's see. Jason, 12-1 over Anthony, I think. Roughing complete game victory. IB Andrews had a rough game. Yeah. And then let's see. Just want to find one game here that looks interesting for Anthony's team. 6-2 Anthony, 6-2 over Jason. Spud Chandler. I mean, he only had 82 innings for the season, but pitched a good game on that one. Hamilton hits his 18th, drives in 4. Cruz hits his 19th. All right. Just wanted to check out a few box scores. Let's see if we can keep things rolling. So let's do next day and back to our automatic. All right, let's take a look. Still very close. 104 games played. Jason and Steve are right there knocking on the door. Let's take another look. Even closer now. We're just going to keep it right here. 2.5 and 4. Anybody's game here. 2.5 and 3 now. Steve is in second now. Magic number of 30. 2.5, 3.5. Magic number of 20. 1 and 2. Steve's in first place now.
What the magic number?
Yep. Oh, jump back in. Magic number of
Seriously?
2. Let's see what we
Do I
got
play
here.
you?
Let me see. Let's see if we have any rainouts. No rainouts. Here we go. Final tally.
Oh, that's the end?
Yep, there you go. Steve.
Oh, Steve.
Steve wins it at the end. Nicely done. That was a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I was leading for most of the year. He caught me at the end. Nicely done. Jason, you're right there almost. Anthony, you got to fire the manager, I think. All right. Good job. That was fun. Let me log this one. All right. So I was at 88. Steve was at 89. Jason had an excellent season at 86. And then Anthony's at 61. All right, so I got that saved. Let me just highlight this.
Oh, you gave Anthony my 86 wins.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Oh, let me take
That's
that back.
probably the best season I'm gonna have. So
That was a good, excellent season. All right. We got ourselves a World Series here. All right, so that's saved. Yeah, it's saved. Now let me go into that other module to save the stats, and we'll come back for season 3. All right, I got all that saved. Let's go back to our league manager screen. Let's go ahead and erase these stats. All right, here we go. Season 3. We should have at least 20 games played. Let's take a look. All right, I'm off to an early lead. Anthony and Jason are close. Steve a little bit farther back, but everybody's still in it. Still very early. We should be getting close to that 40 game mark. Let's see. Okay, it looks like I'm opening it up a little bit in this one. Everybody, it's me and then like a pack of 3 of you kind of in that same area. 47 games played on this one.
Got you right where I want you.
Yep. Should be approaching that 70 game mark, maybe. Let's take a look. All right, it's a little bit closer, but just about the same for those second and third place teams. So we have 72 games played. So we're past the All-Star break. Let me just stop it for 1 second. Just curious who pitched this 15-0 game here.
I know I didn't. Nobody did.
um,
Oof.
Eric King. No, that's why he's an extra pitcher.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, not good.
well, nice job from my bullpen there. So let's
Well,
see. It was
and thankfully we used Trinan Oliver and Kopech and Honeywell that game because what was it? What was the start? What did the start look like? What was the inning by inning? You scroll up a little bit.
yeah,
Oh, I mean you put 10 up on the seventh. Okay, I mean
yeah,
five
that's what it
nothing. You'd think
was.
we'd go somewhere else, but no. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was probably well, yeah, Honeywell and Kopech. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Now, did I have a hitting star? Let me see. Goslin, 4 for 5. Gehrig, Liebold. All right. All right. Eric King, not good. All right.
No, no bueno.
All right. Let's go to next day and let's keep rolling here. Ooh, Steve, 1-0 in 10 innings. Let me take a look at that one. Look at that.
That's
Well,
man King again.
yeah, but the manager was smart. He took him out after 2 innings. He said, I got my two. He's out. And then he brought in the bullpen, did a nice job this time. Yeah.
How
Uh,
did I score? Oh, King's out for 12 days. That's unfortunate.
there you go. Well, you know what?
I know.
It's he really isn't, but he would have if I had been using injuries. Yeah.
Maybe we should just do that anyway.
And Anthony's Wilson pitched a great game. You just didn't give him any run support. I mean, he pitched almost 10 innings.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Jack Morris-ish.
Exactly. All right. Let's keep rolling here. Next day and background. Yep. All right. All right. Let's take a look at those standings. Whoa. Looks like my guys went on a bit of a streak there. 8-2 for the
Yikes.
last 10. Steve, I think you poked the bear in that last series.
Yeah, it looks like I annoyed some people. Probably Alexei Aganda.
Probably. All right, magic number.
Oh, you're clinched already.
Yeah, that's it.
See if I can get above 500.
All right, let's take a look. Any rainouts? No rainouts. Final tally in this one. 107.
Oof.
Yeah, I was definitely everything was clicking in that particular season. You ended up with 80, just a little bit under.
Just shy.
Yeah. All right, let me log this info. And yeah, Jason, it looks like Jason and Anthony, it looks like that back end of the pitching is definitely hurting you guys. So this is saved, and let me go back into the Stat Master screen and save that. All right, that's all saved. And let's go back and erase these stats. All right, here we go. Season 4 underway. Take a look here. We have back-to-back blowout games. One, Steve wins. The other one, Anthony wins. So Steve wins this one 11-1. Wow, Walter Johnson gets whacked.
He sure did.
How about that? And then
CJ Wilson.
there's Wilson pitching another good game again.
Good
Yeah,
grief.
yeah. By the way, a quick little note on the APBA game, which I suspected, but now I think I have some confirmation. So, because I play in an APBA league, and sometimes guys just underperform for no apparent reason. So apparently, and I'm going to ask because the creators of the game are going to be on Derek's Saber's game and simulations. He usually has like a monthly guest, and the creators of the APBA computer game, who are now retired long ago, but they're going to talk about the APBA game and some of the inner workings of it.
Oh, that's cool.
And one of the things that I read in an article recently in a post is that there is a built-in randomization. So, for example, from batter to batter, so Walter Johnson is a grade 19, but he might actually just on a random perspective start a game at grade 14, which would explain why sometimes better pitchers underperform on a given night.
I
So
was
there,
drinking last night.
yeah, exactly. So there is some randomness to maybe where they start the game, or if they get a hiccup in the middle of the game, they go from a 19 to a 14 all of a sudden, which explains why potentially somebody could be pitching perfectly well and then all of a sudden they hit it. So sort of like to try to simulate real baseball, where a guy has a day off, or his gas is empty in the seventh inning, that kind of stuff. But I'm going to confirm it during the meeting next week. But I did read it in a post recently. All right, so that was you, Steve, and then Anthony turns around and beats you 13-1. No, wait a minute. Do I have it backwards? Or no,
Yeah,
Anthony
no.
wins that one, right?
Yep.
And then there's your guy Hadley again.
There's my guy. 77 pitches. Oh no, that's not right.
No, that's I
Oh,
forget what.
that's score. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nicely done there. All right. All right. Let's keep rolling here. Just like to check a few boxers here and there. And now let's take a look at the standings early on. All right, slight lead over Jason and Anthony, 7 over Anthony after 34 games. And so we should be nearing that 50 game mark. Oh, got really close. Steve, 1.5 Jason, and Anthony's only 7.5 out. This could be interesting. 57 games played. We are, I think, past the All-Star break. No, here we are. Right past the All-Star break here. All right, let's take a look. All right, I opened it back up a little. Actually, no, you're in first place now.
I won't
Steve
hold on
jumps
to
to.
it. That's a nice lead.
There you go. Yep. And actually, everybody's in it. So this could be really interesting. You know what? Let's just keep it right here.
I'm gonna fade. There it is.
Jason. Well, Jason jumps into first now.
9-1 in the last 10.
Nice. All right. I jump back up. Steve is there, and Jason's right there as well. Half game lead over you, Steve. 3 over Jason. Uh-oh, magic number. 2 over Steve, 5 over Jason. Uh-oh, Steve. Don't do this again to me. 1 and 4.
26 games left. There's
Yeah.
plenty of time. Oh,
14 magic number. Steve's only
down
one
to the
behind.
wire.
Jason, 3.5. Oh, there he is again, coming on at the end.
Still 5 games left. Give it some
Let's
time.
see. Let's take a look. No rainouts. Final tally. Oh, you did it again at the end. Impressive. Nicely done. Jason, 81 and 81. Anthony coming in at 69. All
Yeah, that
right.
was a lot tighter that time.
Yeah. All right. Let me log this. Steve comes and steals it again at the end.
That six-man rotation makes Steve strong late in the season, I think.
See, that's not what I saw in the test sims. It seemed like later in the season is when it was difficult for you guys to catch me. So this has been kind of a little bit of a reversal. So
Hmm.
it's interesting. All right, 88. Let me log that. And I got 86. And let's see, Jason 81. And then Anthony at 69. All right, got that saved. Let's save the stats and we'll come back for season 5. Right, I got all that saved. Let's go back to our league manager screen. Let's erase these stats. All right, here we go. Season 5. I have 2 seasons. Steve has 2 seasons. Here we go. All right, let's see what the early goings are. Steven first. Jason right there, and so is Anthony and my team. So it's still very early, 20 games in. Should be right around the 40 game mark or so. Let's see. We're close to it. Steve holding on to first. I'm a little bit closer there, but Jason and Anthony are still in play. So we have 44 games played. All right, let's take another look. All right, I jump into first, but Steve is right there, 2.5, and Jason and Anthony are right there as well. 76 games played. Anybody's season here. We're past the All-Star break. Take a look. All right, I opened it up a little bit. Let's just keep it right here. 107 games played. Jason is in second. Steve is in third. Opening it up a little bit now. Winning. I just won 5 in a row. Jason lost 4 in a row. So that would explain that disparity. Magic number now of 17. Magic number of 3.
Oof.
Should be just about wrapping it up here. Let's take a look and see if there's any rainouts. No rainouts. Final tally on this one. 103. So Steve, it looks like if you keep it close, you win.
Yeah, clearly that did not work. I would argue it's not so much me keeping it close, but everybody else keeping it close.
Okay.
I'm only half the formula there.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I win a lot more games in seasons where Steve wins overall.
Yes.
Good point. Yeah.
And I have a better chance of winning when you lose less, Andy. When you lose more.
That helps.
But I've found that reoccurring over multiple different drafts. So
That's always a good thing when your opponent loses more games, right?
yes,
That's some serious sabermetrics.
it deep cuts there.
All right, 3 seasons in. Let me go and save these. All right, season 5 is all saved. Let's go back to our league manager module and erase these stats. All right, here we go. Season 6 on its way. All right, let's take a look at the early going here. All right, I'm off to a strong start, winning 8 in a row here. So this could be a deciding season. Let's see if you guys chip into the lead here. You should be approaching the 40 game mark right about now. You did bite into the lead. Steve, 3 out now. Jason, 6.5. Anthony is still in it, 8.5 out. This is after 53 games. So this is following a familiar pattern here. Let's see if it continues to develop that way. Let's take another look. Yes, it does. Steve jumps into the lead. Half a game lead over me. 7 over Jason, 10.5 over Anthony. 73 games here. So this is very similar to the 2 Steve has already won. Let's see if that pattern continues or if I can somehow avoid that fate. Let's take a look. 3 game lead now. Let's just keep it right here now. 100 games even played.
My magic number is 59.
Jump into the lead. I take
And
it
there it
back.
goes. 2-8 versus 7-2 in the last 9.
One, but it's right there. 1.5. 40 game magic number.
Feeling good.
Yep, you should be.
Nope,
Four,
not
four,
anymore.
4.5. Magic number 26. I've seen this show before. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit better here. Six and a
I
half
mean, this
magic
is
number.
this is Mets collapse right here.
7 magic number.
Well, that was a good run.
Uh, yeah, I thought you were going to do the same thing again that you did in the other 2, but all right. No Rainhouse final tally in season 6. 99. All right. Good run, Steve.
I had a shot.
Yeah. Anthony comes in at 70 and Jason 63.
Again, if you would have won 7 less, I had a shot.
Good point.
I just,
And again, when I send you guys the stats, you're going to be able to see, what exactly led to this. But in the analysis that we did at the beginning, you could kind of see that my team just didn't have holes. It wasn't, with the exception of Garrick, it wasn't spectacular, but it just didn't have any holes.
yeah.
All right, let me save the stats, and we'll also look at the stats for that last season as well. All right. Let me just save them first, and then I'll show you guys that screen. All right, let me share this screen so we can go over the stats for this one, for this last season. So guys, just confirming you can see the yellow screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Let's sort the pitching by innings pitched. Let me just expand that to get a better view this way, I think. Yeah. So, I mean, Walter, you know, 2.10 ERA, you got your money's worth.
Yep.
And lefty, same thing. The sim delivered on those two guys for sure. You got what you paid for there.
For
And
sure.
they both pitched over 300 innings.
Yeah. Monsters.
Yeah, worth every penny. And Jason Ruffing delivered nicely as well. ERA may be a little high, but he gave you the innings. Let's take a look at some of the lesser.
Hadley better than
Yes,
Flaherty.
let's look at some of the not so good stuff here. Yeah, Anthony. So the sim was forced to use Walker Bueller,
Hmm.
and yeah, and it
Oof.
clobbered you. 3-14, 9.15 ERA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not great.
yeah.
Not what you want.
Nope. That'll definitely get you. What else? Actually, let me sort it by ERA. That'll give us a little better clarity on the guys that didn't do so well. There we go. Yeah, Bueller was not good. Kobe Lewis, Anthony, that's another one that clobbered you.
Yeah, 180 innings at that, 6
Yeah,
ERA.
nope, that's not going to help. I'm a little bit surprised at Chandler though, because Chandler was not a bad pitcher. I
Hmm.
almost feel like maybe the sim might have had to use him a little bit tired here and there, because that's a surprise.
Yeah, 'cause I think he was only at like 82 innings or something,
Yeah,
so he
you're
didn't
right.
go too
So
far over.
yeah, that's really odd that because I would have expected better numbers from him. Um, Zanisser didn't help you either. Martina, I mean, you start to see a pattern of why
Hmm.
it is that your team got hurt. It's just that back end of the pitching just really hurt you. All right, that covers the pitching piece, but it looks like the good guys delivered the way they should have, and the bad guys delivered badly. So, all right, let's take a look at the hitting. So this would be the qualitative numbers, the OPS type numbers. Let's sort it by OPS. Obviously, let's get rid of Cora and Herman. They don't count. But I mean, Garrett got my money's worth, 1107 OPS. And there's what I said about Napoli, 1096, just a little bit under Garrett. If Napoli had just had more at bats, he would have been more significant, though. DiMaggio did what he should have done. Goslin, who I thought I got at a little bit of a profit, batting him behind Garrett did the trick there for sure. Steve, nice job from Dickey.
Yeah.
Um, Chavez, good, even though not a lot of at bats. Otani did a nice job. And you know what, Anthony? I thought Otani would have gotten hurt a little bit more from that 5 platoon factor, but he really didn't. I mean, at
Hmm.
930 OPS, it's still pretty good. I thought he would get hurt a little bit more than that, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So, um, and let's just see if there's any surprises on the bad end of things. Josh Hamilton, that's lower than I would have thought.
Hmm.
Ooh, Peckinpah.
Yeah, Peckinpah didn't help things. How did
Cressetti,
Crosetti?
same.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that's the other guy I would have wanted instead of Peckinpah.
Cressetti's numbers are worse.
All right, okay, all right. So that's you're right. Wow. Um, all right, so that is the qualitative stuff. Let's just take a look at the quantitative numbers and see how those stack up. Whoops, not that. Let's sort by home runs. That's always a good indicator. Well, there you go, Otani. Real life 54, sim 54.
Mhm.
Nicely done. Um, Anthony, one thing I meant to mention to you, because in the test sims, I was actually batting Otani either leadoff or second, and
Mhm.
I think you batted him third in your lineup. I think when you batted him third, it cost him some stolen bases, because when I was doing the test sims, he was stealing over 50 bases. So I think when you bat him third, it's like a few less opportunities during the course of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the test sims that I did, he was always stealing pretty much close to real life. So nice job by Otani. DiMaggio 40. Look at those numbers by DiMaggio. Jeez. 39 doubles, 17 triples,
Tremendous.
44 homers. Wow. Garrick, not too far behind, 38, 14, 19. Impressive. Let's see what else on the stolen base side. Craig Gentry in only 160 at bats steals 30 bases. Okay, that did not help you at all, Anthony. Jeff Houston steals 11 and gets caught 13 times. That's that's not going to work. All right.
All while hitting 152.
Not good. All right.
That's
So, Anthony, mental note: never ever, when I use Jeff Houston as an extra player, keep away from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Um, so then the next thing we have here is the summary, which I always enjoy looking at this, because it really is sort of like the tail of the tape here. So let's see. So my team, came out first in ERA, first in fielding, and let me do some quick math here. 782 OPS. Steve,
788.
788. So pretty much right there with you.
Yeah.
So when you put that together, just about tied for first in OPS, first in pitching, first in hitting and fielding, at least to those results. And I in this particular auction, Jason, I'm talking to you on this one. Since I completely ignored defense in the decades auction, I was actually focused on defense in this one. So
Yeah, I thought my defense was fine. I just
yeah,
needed more bat.
correct, correct. So and then the last thing I wanted to show you is head-to-head numbers on this past season.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
what can I do? I just didn't beat you enough.
exactly. Yeah. So, all right, guys, that is a wrap. Let me stop sharing here. So I know it's always more fun to win, but I always have fun. I was tell you guys I sort of have like three stages of fun. I actually enjoy, I think, the prep work more than the auction itself, almost. Like just preparing, thinking of a strategy, coming up with the values. I really just thoroughly enjoy all that. And then, of course, you got the auction, which is fun. And then this is fun too. And really the other part that I really enjoy is actually compiling the stats. Even when I don't do so well, I just enjoy putting the stats together and just seeing what the actual numbers tell. So I'll start doing that next if I have a little bit of energy. I'm in a hotel this week, so let me see how I feel after I'm done here, and maybe I'll get that started and get that to you guys in a day or two. But a big thank you. I'm going to probably select the next batch of World Series teams. So I'm hoping that all of you will consider taking a dip in the pool again. I'll give you guys a date soon. Anthony, Jason, I hope you decide to come back and give it another shot. Obviously, depending on availability. But I'm going to probably select those teams in the next day or so and let everybody know, and then try to come up with a date. I'm starting to notice that it's a little tricky in the summer, though. I was trying to do like one a month, but between Memorial Day and then you got the 4th of July, and then people just taking vacations, I can see that the summer might be a little trickier than I thought to actually get these done. So, but I'll put some dates out there and we'll see if we get lucky on availability. So, Cool. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate you joining me for the Sims and for the auction.
It's a good one.
All right.
Yeah, well
Good.
done.
Good job, Steve. All right. Take care, guys. I'll put this together between today and tomorrow and send it out.
Yep.
All right. Good night.
Yep.
Bye.